boy of 11 hits the door like a storm, quoting every movie scene to keep his heart warm. A mother gone, a silence screaming in his chest, so he fills it up with noise and dares you to protest. He's magnetic, he's electric, he's a live wire on the floor. Every kid is watching him, the staff is keeping score. But underneath the bravado, underneath the bit, there's a boy who lost his anchor, and he doesn't know where to sit. See, this school won't ring a bell to tell you where to stand, but it draws a line and asks you, do you understand that freedom isn't free? It's a contract with your peers, and the weight of your own choices is the heaviest thing here. So the day as chaos turns from funny into fear, the school does something radical, now everybody here. They don't just send him home with a number on the clock, they suspend him with no end date. Let that satisfying logic knock. No 3 days, no 5 days, no calendar to wait, just a question hanging heavy at the gate. Can you stand before this room of every single peer and convince us that you want this, that you're choosing to be here? And the silence did what shouting never could. It cracked the performance open where a real boy stood. For the first time in his life, his presence was a choice, not compulsory attendance, but his own authentic voice. He chose to stay. A staff member named Rowan saw the fire in his eyes, sat beside him, didn't flatter, didn't simplify. Said, you're a leader, Felix, that's not a compliment, it's a burden and a question about how your life gets spent. Every kid who follows you will go the way you lead, so what kind of a garden are you planting with that seed? Then a monitor lit up and a universe was born. He found software for the stories he'd been carrying since dawn. 3 dimensions, light and shadow, worlds inside a frame. Blender was the canvas and he'd never be the same. But the hardware couldn't hold the weight of what he saw. Standard school computers met their rendering last straw. Now a traditional school would say wait until next year. Use a simpler tool, stay small, stay here. But this is not that school. He walked into committee with a vision and a plan. Not a child begging for a toy, but a craftsman with a brand. He named the GPU, the motherboard, the RAM. He argued every component like an architect who can't see the building before the foundation's even laid. And the committee saw his fire and the commitment he displayed. They granted him the funds and then he did what leaders do. He built it with his hands, weeks of manuals and screws, assembling the engine of the future he designed. And he'd rebuild that machine 3 times as his skill outpaced his mind. The chaos crystallized a discipline and drive. He wrote scripts for a series, kept the narrative alive. 4 years of revision, every scene and every frame. He was learning physics, pacing light. He never called it by a name, but it was everything a classroom tries to teach. Wrapped in purpose, wrapped in passion, finally within his reach. Graduation came and he was not that boy of quotes, not hiding behind characters or someone else's notes. He was a filmmaker standing in his own spotlight, and he debuted an animated trailer in the night. Thousands of hours rendered every frame a choice he made, born from the moment he decided not to fade. The lights came down, the trailer played, the room held its breath. And when the credits rolled, the room erupted, but a different kind of sound. Not the chaos of an 11-year-old tearing up the ground. It was a community who trusted him to find his way, and watched him prove that freedom works when you let a person stay. Weeks later came a message, just a few lines on a screen. If you ever need a volunteer for a trip you haven't seen, or someone to be present while the staff is occupied, I'm here. The boy suspended with no end date, now the man who won't leave. He learned the most important thing he built across those years. Wasn't hardware, wasn't software, wasn't scripts to calm his fears. It wasn't the computer, and it wasn't the premiere. It was the architect himself, and he's still building here.